Let's start with Iran's war demands.
Of the war continues on. All sides are digging in deeper.
Of course.
The Israeli side continues to talk about wanting to be a superpower. He's all excited, Benjamin Netanyahu. You have Donald Trump saying that he's going to continue to destroy everything that Iran has if they don't submit to what he wants to do. And you have the Iranian side saying, we will not surrender, we will not lay down, and we will not agree to an end to this until you pay us reparations.
Yeah, that's the reason this isn't ending anytime soon, because basically both sides want the defeat of the other at this point. They want optical defeat of the other. If you put it in simplest term, Trump wants Iran's unconditional surrender, and Iran wants reparations, which everyone, entire world would see as the defeat of the United States if the United States actually paid reparations to Iran. So with two positions like that, this isn't ending anytime soon.
All of this shows that each side is digging in its heels and they have no interest in surrendering or submitting to the others.
Do you think the U.S. is trying to spread propaganda about threats for attacks in California? Yes. Iran has no interest in doing that, of galvanizing the U.S. public into maybe possibly putting ground troops. No, they've been adopting a tit-for-tat response. You strike something in Iran, we'll strike the same thing somewhere in the Gulf. That is their entire approach, and they are in control. They are winning right now. Doing something like attacking California would potentially throw a wrench in that. So no, I don't believe that. However, it's always possible. There's crazy leftists out there, and they've done crazy things with regard to Gaza. There might be some group apart from Iran that's going to do something. That's always a possibility, but I don't think drone attacks, because drone attacks you actually need military grade drones. It's too sophisticated for like an average terrorist cell or something. So no, I don't think California is going to be attacked by drones. And yeah, California's left. It supports Iran, Palestine. It had demonstrations in the streets. Why attack California? They don't even have the missiles that would reach that far. Well, there could be something like the United States did to Russia, which is you put a lot of drones in a shipping container and ship that over into the other country. Shipping container opens and all these drones fly out and destroy stuff. That's what we did to their strategic bombers. I mean, that was such an escalatory act. That's why I'm so glad Putin's in charge and he didn't respond against the West for that.
Side at all, which means
that was not Ukraine doing it. It was the CIA, MI6. We've just been using Ukraine as a proxy to do all the attacks we want on Russia. It's
This is going to continue on for a long time. Meanwhile, price of oil continues to pop up there. I believe the last one that it ended on the day at the end of Friday was $101. That's where it ended up right now. And that's where it's going to sit probably until Monday, I think, officially when trading back opens up again.
Yep.
You can count on that number going up, especially with everybody digging in their heels here. Well, what I want to talk about today in this episode...
it'll trade between 110 and 90 is my bet for like next 2 weeks. Unless this... Okay, one caveat of that. If they start attacking each other's oil infrastructure, if there's an escalation in terms of attacking oil infrastructure... Take that off the table. It'll go up sooner. If that does not happen, then it'll trade between 110 and 90.
So right here is to be very clear on where the Iranian side leadership
and,
is.
Unfortunately, now that I think about it, it is possible that Trump tries to do something with Karg. So, yeah, it's possible it could go higher. But absent anything new, it'll trade between 90 and 110.
And what does that tell you about their ability to sustain this war and how long they can take this punishment that they are genuinely getting from the Israelis and the Americans? I think you're going to find out it is not optimistic and is not really good for our side, because no matter how many bombs we can bring to bear, there's no evidence that we can do anything to stop them, that's going to cause them to capitulate. Let's first of all start off with Abbas Araghchi.
They have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to defeat the United States of America. They're not going to throw that away. All they have to do is keep the Strait of Hormuz closed for 6 months. It'll cost the Republicans Congress and Trump will be impeached. Regime change in America. The Iranians, right now, once in a lifetime opportunity to cause regime change in America, to be seen as the winners of this. They're not going to throw that away.
Yesterday was asked kind of where they were about this closing of the Strait of Hormuz and getting it open. And he had an interesting comment. He said, well, it's only closed to some customers.
The Strait of Hormuz is open. It is only closed to the tankers and ships belong to our enemies, to those who are attacking us and their allies. Others are free to pass. Of course, many of them prefer not because of their security concerns. This has nothing to do with us. I can say that the strait is not closed.
They reportedly let one Indian tanker through in the last few days.
But it is only closed to American, Israeli, ships and tankers.
Yeah, that's kind of a big only. Because that's everything that we care about here. And of course, that means anybody that's associated with us. And that also requires, ships of other countries that are not necessarily the United States. That means they have to trust what the Iranians are going to say, and that they're not going to be some of the ships that are blown up. And we've seen quite a few ships have blown up in the Strait. Many of them have been blown up, and they're not all just American. Some of them are flagged from other countries. So I'm pretty sure that was an intended message that, you can pass through, but you have to get specific permission from.
Yeah, they actually did something really big.
They have control. They are demonstrating they have
about their control of the Gulf. If they floated the idea of anyone who trades in yuan, Chinese yuan. Here we go. Iran mulls allowing tankers through the Straits of Hormuz if trade conducted in yuan. It's a direct attack on the petrodollar. It's what you could say. Some people believe this entire war was fought to protect the petrodollar, the idea of all oil being sold in dollars, and Iran is directly attacking that. And but they floated the idea. They haven't officially announced it. I'd say that just keeping the straits closed entirely gives them so much pressure that for them to allow anything through, they would have to extract some severe concessions from the countries involved. Is my opinion.
Have full control of the strait. They will keep it open for themselves. You've seen the reports from the Wall Street Journal that Iran has actually exported more oil in these 14 days than they did prior to the war.
Do you hear that? Iran has exported more in these 14 days than they did prior to the war. So all the pro-U.S. Gulf countries that have U.S. bases, they're fucked. But Iran is exporting more oil than ever. That's probably why Trump wants to target Karg Island, is that this is infuriating for him. At least stop Iran from exporting oil too. However, the problem with that, if that would require, if he destroys Karg Island, Iran turns around, destroys all oil infrastructure in the Gulf, and you get $200 oil. And it's an absolute humanitarian disaster around the world. He can't do that. So go in and invade Karg Island, he's going to lose hundreds, if not thousands, of U.S. soldiers. And I think ultimately he will have to withdraw because it's within striking range of drones of the Iranian mainland, and they'd be under constant bombardment. I think it'd be a disaster for the United States. And so, and if he goes after tankers, I think that might spark a wider war with China. And I'm sorry, China and Russia, naval on the sea. And unfortunately for the United States, this area is pretty damn far from the United States. If you look at a map, let's get Google Earth. Open. I should open it before stream. Anyway.
That's by itself a really remarkable figure. Now, we'll see if that continues to be the case. It's hard for me to imagine President Trump is going to be okay with that because that's kind of like a poke in the eye and an embarrassment.
Yep. All Trump's ego, and because, it's incredibly important to him. Like, that's why One reason Trump is Asmongold supporting Trump is whatever is the way his attitude of just going in, fucking up terrorisms and whatever. If he did something that was humiliating, I think Asmongold would stop supporting the war. He might turn his back on Trump. So this is China. This is China's area of influence. You have Russia and China right here. We are over here on the other side of the world. So if you, in terms of projecting naval power, it's about as far as you can get from the United States. Because the United States, okay, let's turn this around so it's upside down. Two ways to get from the Gulf are all the way here, through the Strait, and then around here. That's pretty damn far. Or going around Africa. Or in the other directions, it's even farther. You have to cross the entire Pacific, past China. And so if we fight a naval battle in this part of the world, Russia and China have a huge advantage. Because Russia is down this way. Oh, I don't know if you can see that because of the way. Let me see. It's right behind my head, isn't it? Sorry about that. Oh, damn it. There. Like I was, let's say that again. United States here. Huge distance to go through here, down through here, past the Houthis, and fighting a war here. This is the short way for us. The other way is even longer. Whereas China and Russia, it's really short distance. Okay.
And I would not be surprised here in the next day or two if he takes military action to start hitting some of the Iranian oil infrastructure. So far,
which, okay, then you're going, oil spikes up above 120 and it's not coming down again.
He has avoided doing that because Iran has been very clear, and so far they have done everything that they have claimed they would do. If we start hitting their oil infrastructure, they are going to do likewise in the region, both of the United States and of our allies. And I assure you that our allies are screaming at the White House, don't go down that path.
Yeah. Oh, my God. If Trump does do that and Iran starts attacking oil infrastructure, oh, my God, the Gulf countries are not going to be happy.
That implies that President Trump will listen to everybody, which is obviously a dicey bet at that.
That's why Trump is so stuck. If he does any type of escalation, it'll completely fuck over his vulnerable allies in the Gulf in a much greater way than it will Iran.
At best. Well, let's give you an idea of where the Iranian side is. Now, you might think, and President Trump wants everybody to think, this was some of the True Socials that he mentioned out just last night. In fact, let me pull up. This is one that came out earlier this morning, I think it was earlier this morning, where he said, listen, many countries, especially those that are affected by the Iran's attempted closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
It keeps getting worse than that. That's what I said from the very, yes, it does. It's just, there is no off-ramp. You killed the supreme leader. The only way Iran backs down is if Trump agrees to something completely humiliating like reparations, which he's not going to do. And they have so many missiles. They have like 20,000 Garand drones, enough to level all the oil infrastructure in the Gulf. So they have that threat hanging over us, and that completely limits our ability to bomb them into the ground. Not to mention, we're running out of interceptors and air defense missiles, and we're running out of bombs, and our ability to attack Iran is being degraded because Iran is attacking the air bases constantly. It's destroying the refueling airplanes that jets need to attack Iran, and so it's all tilting in Iran's favor. It's crazy.
Will be sending warships in conjunction with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe. Well, that's weird because
and you know it's bad for the United States when it keeps on making stupid things like we'll do military escorts of tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. I knew that never worked. Everyone that knows anything about military knows that wouldn't work, except possibly Asmongold, who for some reason you should be smart enough to know that doesn't work.
You're saying that it's not open and we have to get it that way. But anyway, he continues on. He says, we have already destroyed 100% of Iran's military capacity.
100% of Iran's military capacity. What do you think, Sound by Soma? Are there still drones coming into UAE? To Dubai? Because if Trump's destroyed 100% of the military capacity, there really shouldn't be jets flying over your house. Oh, God.
Capacity. But it's easy for them to send a drone or drop a mine or a delivery at range, close range missiles elsewhere in the waterway. But no matter how badly defeated they are, but hopefully China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, and the UK, and others that are affected by this artificial constraint will send ships
Well, its tankers are getting through. Why would it do anything?
to the area so the Hormuz Strait will no longer be a threat by a nation that has been totally decimated. Well, obviously that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if they've been totally decimated, then why are you wanting to send Navy in there? I mean, it's disconnected from reality, which by itself is a concern. But that's what we have to deal with. So we've got to look at where the dynamics are.
Okay. That's
By the
Go
end of
review
this
with
month,
this.
I don't even put it at 6. This idea it's going to be over by the end of this month. I don't even put it at 16%. I put it
Agreed.
at none. There's no
0.
% chance of that happening. Now I'd like to see
just listen to the position of both sides. Iran wants reparation. Trump wants unconditional surrender. Yeah, not ending.
start gaming out what the percentages are as the time goes on, that this escalates beyond the Persian Gulf and
Yeah.
outside of the current combatants. That's what I worry about.
Yeah, on your point on Trump's post asking China to send ships and other allies, but mainly China send ships to open up the strait. Obviously, it sounds foolish, but there's a lot of foolish things he says, and I'm hoping that's more part of his controlling the narrative
China's ships are getting through the Strait of Hormuz. Why would they send ships?
strategy, which he's been doing so well. That's what I'm hoping, because I'm sure there's advisors by his side. Obviously, his actions will determine whether I'm right or not, but it's a hope. There is another comment made by Arachi as well. Now, he struck Fujairah oil plant, and he said that it's because there were rockets that were fired on Karg Island and Abu Musa Island, so the islands that were struck yesterday by Trump. Some of them were fired from the UAE, including Ras Al
You see, since the UAE took part in the attack on Karg Island,
Khaimah and close to Dubai. So it seems that, according to Iran, the UAE was used for
see,
attack.
that's another pressure point for Trump. The UAE and other countries, I think they're getting less and less excited about having U.S. jets on their territory attacking Iran, because if they kicked all the U.S. forces out, all the U.S. jets out, good chance Iran would stop attacking them. So that's one other pressure point for Trump.
Attacks against Iran, which is surprising. I thought the Gulf countries would want to try to get in close end to the war, if this claim is true, not be involved in striking Iran or play a role in striking Iran. He also made another comment here, and this kind of leads to my next question. He said, what we are doing now is only principle of an eye for an eye, which is very well known. So if you're looking at this eye for an eye strategy, how would that look like if the US sends troops? And I'm trying to figure out what will be the step in your mind that would lead to them crossing the line and starting to strike desalination plants?
Yeah. This, you can go eye for an eye on a lot of things, but obviously troops is not. They don't have any capacity nor desire to send any of their troops anywhere outside of their territory. They're going to want to defend their borders. But you do have categorical eye for eye, and if you try something like that, and whether you succeed or not, you ask what might be the threshold.
I think that that's excellent strategy for Iran, eye for an eye. It has been holding Trump back, because he knows they've been so consistent about it, of being eye for an eye. You strike desalination plant, we'll strike a desalination plant. That Trump knows that they'll do that, and it is, I think, really actually hindering U.S. attacks in Iran.
If we try to do something, let's say it's the target everybody thinks it's going to be, and it is Karg Island, and we actually start to damage or destroy or try to control all of those oil facilities, then I think you're going to get some big counter strikes a bit commensurate with something else of equal value in the Gulf. That's why I said there's zero chance in my mind that Iran would ever allow us to actually have operational control of those and not do anything.
Again, I've heard reports that they've put explosives on their own oil infrastructure to make sure it never falls into U.S. hands.
Take it back or hit something else. And clearly they have the capacity to do it. So I think that would be your next line for escalation. I think it is in Iran's interest not to take this beyond an eye for an eye and, to have an eye and an ear for a tooth or something like that. I think that they want to get the thing over. But you saw one of the Iranian generals, the IRGC generals overnight said, yeah, we're willing to talk and negotiate a settlement, but their terms are you will pay for all the reparations that we have lost, and we'll have an international consortium guaranteeing our security going forward.
I wonder how Trump feels about that.
Of course, those those aren't even in the realm of possibility right now. But that shows, in my view, that the Iranian side is saying we're very confident that we can maintain this level of enduring pain that you're putting on us for months. And we calculate we can
They last 6 months. Trump will end up impeached, and then they can make a deal with the new president.
endure more pain than you can, and we can inflict it for months. And then, so we're asking for something right now that shows they aren't even thinking about any kind of submission terms that Trump keeps asking for. Again, and last night before he fired on the Carg Island, or as he fired, claimed that, we're going to go after the oil next and until you surrender and lay down your arms and all this kind of nonsensical statements here. And obviously that's not going to happen. And instead they're more defiant than ever and saying, now then here's the terms for us, for you to capitulate to our terms. So everybody's hardening their position. So this is not going to end anytime soon.
Yep.
Why is striking the Gulf countries not forcing Trump's hand? Is it they don't have enough leverage over Trump, or do you think they want Iran to fall as well? Because I thought
They don't have enough leverage over Trump. Again, you just look at where air defenses are being sent. In some cases, you had Gulf states angry because interceptors were being taken from them and given to Israel. So, yes, they don't have as much leverage as Israel. Absolutely. They're discovering they had much less leverage than they thought all along. They do have some, which is what has held Trump back so far. But I don't think that's going to last because at the current rate, Trump knows he's going to lose if he doesn't do something. And doing something, whatever it is, it's going to be bad for the Gulf states.
the Gulf countries, all of them are struggling financially. I obviously, me staying in Dubai, I've had 2 strikes next to my building in 2 days in a row, this morning and yesterday morning as well.
Yeah, so I would. He's brave to be staying high up in a building in Dubai. Those are targets.
But that's not as significant as the Fujairah plant getting struck. And now the risk of the desalination plants. So my question is, I thought that would be enough because, we know how these countries are so important for the US economically, but also Trump and his relationship with these countries. He spent a lot of time building rapport with them even before he was president. So what I'm wondering is, do they not have enough leverage over Trump and his decision making?
They don't.
Or is Trump's objective too important that their opinion doesn't really matter? Or are they aligned with Trump in seeing Iran fall? Because I don't think anyone wants to see it.
They might be aligned on wanting to see Iran fall as long as they don't get hurt in the process. I guarantee you they do not want any attacks on the Iranian oil infrastructure because they know what will happen to them. So they are 100% against that. Iran regime falling in a way that's not painful for them, yes, they're probably okay with that.
Iran become a failed state while their country gets hit as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's the last one at all. I think that what you're seeing is the manifestation of decades of subservient to whatever the United States want.
Yeah, vassal states, just doing whatever the United States wants.
Just abject.
We have bases in their countries. Like I said before, they kicked out U.S. forces. Maybe they could be attacked less, but oh my God, would there be blowback? How dare they? In the middle of a war with Iran, try to kick U.S. forces out. Oh my God, we declare war on we might declare war on any country that tried to do that, because that's how Trump operates. I mean, remember, what was it? Spain said Spanish bases can't be used in this Iran war, and Trump, what was it? He tried to cut off all trade with Spain, or at least he said he would. I don't know if he actually followed through, but yeah, he's extreme.
This is what we're going to do. That's like in the DNA almost of the leaders and the United States. It's like that's just how things work. And so now them to try to change the paradigm,
when people act like vassals don't exist, it baffles me. Yes, yeah, people act like the UAE is not like basically a U.S. puppet state. It is. It's all these Gulf states trade oil in dollars and then invest all those dollars into the United States and help fund our deficit. They basically are undemocratic puppets that fuel the U.S. empire.
Course of 15 days. I just don't think that you're going to break decades of submission to whatever the U.S. wanted because it was beneficial to them. A lot of recalculations are going on right now, and I have great confidence that, in a lot of palaces throughout the Middle East or in the, secure areas, they are making some hard conversations amongst themselves and saying, how much longer are we going to go?
Or how do we disconnect from the United States? Like I said, trying to disconnect in the middle of this Iran war, that won't won't be easy for them because you've seen the mood Trump is in right now. This panicked, making threats, completely destroying Iran. Yeah, they can't disconnect right now. But after this is over, yes, there's going to be a deep desire to try to accomplish that some way.
If you start living and giving into the United States like we've done in the past, is going to start putting our regime in question. If we have problems with our own domestic people, if we have problems with our domestic economy, and it starts to make our control start to wobble, then you're going to start seeing some people going, okay, hang on, I want to work with you, but not at the cost of potentially, having our own control of our population put at risk. And then I think you're going to start, and I think this is also part of.
I hear that Bahrain is right on the edge of collapse, and that the Sultan, I think, has already fled or is about to flee. It's bad.
The conversations going on now, they're going to say, is there anybody else out there that we could use to have a stability to, i.e. BRICS, China, Russia, whatever, because they don't go off looking for dragons to slay. They don't have wars of choice that now result in us getting blown up. They just want to do business. Maybe that's a better deal than what we have here.
Yeah, and China and Russia have a lot of excellent missiles that can deter the U.S. And they're just like China just sold to Iran, those cruise missiles that can target aircraft carriers. I don't know if those would be delivered in the middle of a war, but yeah, any nation get those. U.S. doesn't produce enough air interceptors to be a reliable partner for air defense.
And so I'm guessing that certainly what I would do in their shoes is I'm like, let's get this one over with as quickly as we can, with as little pain as we can, and just so get a chance to catch our breath and then think through all the ramifications of this. But I think they're already thinking about looking somewhere besides where they have for the previous 7 decades or whatever in the United States. So I think that there's going to be a reorientation after this.
Colonel, what happens if China starts to directly deliver weapons and munitions to Iran like they did to Ukraine? What would the US do then? Would that be a reason to de-escalate, or would that get China directly involved in a proxy war on the other side?
Get China directly involved in a proxy war, yeah, and because I think that China is well aware of the hawkishness of the American body politic, regardless of right or left. And in fact, I've already seen people talking, just Chip Roy on Fox last night, of like, no, this is actually also directly related to China and Russia, and we've got to try and get a control of this or that, whatever. So if it became clear that China was actually giving
United
weapons,
States can't fight China and Russia at the same time, not with the way its military is now,
and ammunition to Iran, a la what we're doing to Ukraine, we wouldn't go, well, you know what, tit for tat. I mean, that's fair. We're doing it to Ukraine against Russia, so it makes sense that they would do it. No, there's separate standards here.
Yes.
No one can do that to us.
Yes.
Look how we're freaking out because of some reports that Russia is providing targeting intelligence, just intelligence, not weapons and ammunition. And people are already going, oh, my God, we have to do something against that. You had Senator...
Like I mentioned the other day, the drones, the submerged drones that Iran is using, they got those from Russia. They did. And they're one of the big problems who's trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Slotkin, in a Senate testimony this week, said we have to take decisive action against Russia because they've been doing that. Oblivious to the irony of what she was saying because of what we're actively doing right now. But that's indicative of what you can expect.
Just like 2-3 days ago, UK Storm Shuttle missiles hit a very important factory in Russia, and that's not Ukraine. That's basically MI6. They make the missiles in the UK. They ship them over to Ukraine, and then basically UK personnel on the ground shoots them into Russia with practically no Ukraine involvement whatsoever. And if we did that with Iran, if Russia did that with Iran, shipped an Oreshnik missile to Iran, then fired an Oreshnik missile. Those are the hypersonic ones that like this, I think the best mid-range ballistic missile in the world, and they fired that at Israel from Ukraine. I think, we would absolutely lose our mind in the West.
That we would say, how dare they do that? We need to take action. China knows that. So I think China's interest is let's help them as much as we can because it's in our interest for Iran not to fall. But let's don't get ourselves involved because America is making so many unforced errors. We don't need to get involved.
I'd say I'd agree. Right now, Iran has enough missiles and whatever to fire on its own. What China could do is just provide the motors for the drones and components for their missiles. That's all it really needs to do. Iran has underground factories to continue making ballistic missiles. So just give them all the support it needs to keep going without actually providing finished weapons. That's the strategy I would use if I was Russia or China. By the way, Russia sent the first aid package, like tons of aid to Iran, the first nation to do that. So, yep, Iran and Russia is a solid ally to Iran.
And they're going to eventually impale themselves in this, and it's going to cost them so much. So I think it's wise for Chinese to let things go to help enough to make sure that Iran doesn't fall, although all evidence suggests that they're not going to. So I think they're going to be content to helping in minor ways, or at least subtle ways, for the time being.
I just feel like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for China to, number one, they cannot have the Strait of Hormuz fall into American hands.
A war-oriented country actually preparing for war is shocking. Well, except if you're not a U.S. vassal state, as U.S. bases, and has just decided to outsource your security to the United States, any country that is in that situation actually does have its military and prepares for war, to have peace. You must prepare for war. That's the attitude of it. Any country that isn't a vassal state.
And now, if the U.S. is going to do whatever is necessary, if the objective behind the scenes right now, Colonel, is do whatever is necessary to seize the Strait of Hormuz, to seize control of the Strait of Hormuz, that will be,
They can't, because that requires a ground invasion. That takes 6 months to set up. And if the strait is closed for 6 months, Trump has lost already.
Potential for China, but that would make a reunification with Taiwan very difficult if the U.S. could turn off the tap from the Strait of Hormuz as a way to deter an invasion of Taiwan. So China is in a very tricky position because, number one, they cannot lose access to the Strait of Hormuz. They cannot have their ally Iran lose access to the strait, 20% of the oil exports. And number two is it seems like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to weaken the American empire. I think this is one of the biggest...
Exactly. From both China's perspective and Iran's perspective. The U.S. has put itself in a losing situation for, like, first time perhaps ever, in that Trump started this war, the strait is closed, and he didn't have a ground invasion prepared. The one thing that could open the Strait of Hormuz. That takes 6 months to set up, and by that time it's too late. So Trump is just fucked. As long as they don't, show mercy, which they won't.
Yeah.
Strategic blunders if this continues. If this escalates or continues for another few weeks, which is looking insanely likely now, it could be a massive opportunity strategically for China. And that would reshape the Middle East for decades to come. The Middle East will not look the same after this.
I think it's already happened. Like you're saying, all these states in the Middle East are now rethinking their U.S. bases. It's the question is, how much is it going to be reshaped is a better question at this point. Not the fact that, yes, it will be reshaped.
Well, the Middle East is definitely not going to look the same as it is, no matter how it comes out. It's going to be irrevocably changed. But I would argue to the contrary, that this is not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for China, that they have to worry about if they have a Taiwan contingency, about us having control, because we can already do that. That's always existed. There's never been any question that if we wanted to, if we got into a war with China over Taiwan, there's no doubt we control the global commons in there, and China has no power to do anything. We could shut that down in a minute. I'm sure that's been part of the...
Yeah, because even... we could blockade. What he's saying, we are still the biggest world's biggest naval power. That there's no question about. So we could prevent tankers from going from here to China if there was a war with China. From Russia to China, that we wouldn't be able to stop, because they can do that without. So China could get most of the oil it needs from Russia. So it's not absolutely worried about Strait of Hormuz, but Iran is an ally, and they've already lost Venezuela. They would very much not like to lose Iran.
Planning, and our war plans existing for decades, probably. So that's nothing new that we could do that, even if the status quo before all this had started. But I again go back to, I think that China is saying, let's don't help our enemy when they're already harming themselves. I think that they can say, you're going to do for us what we don't have to do in harming your own interest. And if we attempt to control physically the Strait of Hormuz and try to force it open, I believe that it will be a disaster on par with the Nazis' attempt or invasion of Soviet Union in 1941.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. Any military operation Trump's attempts to do to get out of this, whether it's take Karg Island or take the Strait of Hormuz, will be an absolute disaster for America, because this is the era of drone warfare. And Iran has a lot of drones. Its ally is Russia, which I'm sure is giving them training as we speak, if they have probably already trained them on how to conduct that warfare. And yes, American troops don't have a lot of experience fighting drone warfare. They'll get a rude lesson in that if they try to do anything against Iran.
If we attempt to do that with ground forces, I think we will destroy the American empire, because we will suffer a physical loss, not a strategic loss like in Afghanistan or in Vietnam, but a physical loss, because we just have so grossly underestimated the military task, how difficult that would be. Even if you amass 400,000 or 500,000 troops to be able to go into that, I think that you would end up losing.
Yeah, there's no way amassing 400 or 500 troops, that would take 9 months, a year. It would. It's not a short term. That's not 6 months. 6 months is for 100,000, and we would lose, because just look at Russia and Ukraine. Iran has 1 million men in its army, more give or take, and in the era of drone warfare and in a mountainous country like Iran, it just would be an absolute. We experience level casualties that Russia is experiencing in the worst part in its during the Ukraine's offensive back in Ukraine, before they adapted their strategies to drone warfare. There's going to be a steep learning curve for U.S. troops that aren't versed in drone warfare, and a lot of people are going to die.
We would lose everything. Meanwhile, China's sitting there on the sidelines, not losing anything, building up military power, and then the relative power between the two is going to continue to escalate in their favor, not just in the region, but...
Yeah, I think that unless China might just make a play for the Strait of Hormuz, but if they don't, I think eventually, with how depleted the U.S. is being by Ukraine and Iran, we're just going to recognize that we can't defend Taiwan, and well, basically... Yeah, I think we'll just back down there. It's right on China's border, and we're weakening ourselves too much with these other conflicts. So I wouldn't count on a free, an independent Taiwan for like 2-3 years from now. I think that's unlikely. China will get Taiwan at some point.
Now that's going to start to be globally, because we have impaled ourselves in a war of choice that only loses our military strength. So if I was China, that's what I would do. I can't say what they are going to do. I hadn't read anything, but I would not get in the way of the American.
I will notice that I will say that I have noticed that China has been purging its top generals recently. Here's Zero Heads. Perfect. China generals. Yeah, just like less than a month ago, Xi purge latest. China's top legislature abruptly sacks 9 top military officials. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking Taiwan. I'm thinking that I've read some people, they might be getting ready to go after Taiwan, especially with the Iran war likely, and these purges to prepare for that is what I'm thinking. We'll have to wait and see, but China is watching what's going on.
America's doing this, and why I'm advocating so passionately not to be doing something foolish like this.
Last question, Colonel. Where do you see this by end of next month? I'm not going to even say end of this month anymore, because that's looking pretty obvious how this is going to continue. By end of April.
I will worry in the medium term, I'll call that, of a risk, not just of Israel using nuclear weapons, as you mentioned, but of Trump using nuclear weapons. If he is detached from reality, as he has demonstrated here in recent past that he is, I can see him actually saying, all right, especially if, the oil, I think, was at $98, $99 a barrel when it closed yesterday. It'll probably be higher than that going forward by the end of the month. It could be 120.
I wonder how Asmongold would react to Israel or the U.S. using a nuke. This whole thing is about, the nasty Iranians are going to have a nuke and they'll nuke us. And then we nuke them. Oh, yeah. when he believes we already have military dominance over them.
even higher.
Yeah.
And if it just keeps on tricking
It would completely blow his worldview.
higher, and there's no military solution. No nation's going to send its navy to go to the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Our navy's not going to compel itself to go into the Persian Gulf. If they try something on the ground in between then, and that also doesn't work, then I can see Trump getting desperate, because now everybody's going to turn against him domestically here, and it's going to be a shellacking, probably of historic proportions at the midterm elections. And I fear that he may, in desperation, say, all right, I'm going to use a tactical nuclear, just a little one, a tactical nuclear weapon to finally bring them to the hills, because that's the only thing that he may calculate.
Yeah, but that's in 6 months or whatever. I like I said, I think they're going to get nuclear weapons like 2-3 months. Iran's going to get. So in the situation he's talking about, Iran would already have nukes, and as soon as Iran gets nukes, us using nukes against them stops being an option. So I advise Iran to get nukes as fast as possible. Like, they're not great for us, but I think if they don't get nukes, there's a good chance that we're going to see this first world use of nuke since World War II against civilian population, either Israel or the United States. So Iran needs to get a nuke at this point to stop that. It's not great, but if you have two alternatives, Israel using a nuke against Iran or Iran getting a nuke, I'd rather Iran get a nuke.
Calculate that he can do. Now, then the question is going to be, and I had Robert Barnes on the show yesterday. We mused about this,
Yeah.
And I said, would if he gave that order, would the system of guardrails, allow him to do that? Nobody has said no to him so far. And Robert Barnes thought,
Yeah, the situation is crazy, Proton Snail. Yeah.
no, I think that the system would there's checks and balances that would stop that. I'm not convinced that that's the case, because nobody's told him no so far, and other things that made no sense. But I think that we could come to a potential where he could potentially use a nuclear weapons if it gets just that by the end of the month, because I don't see anything militarily that's going to coerce Iran to submitting to anything, to giving up control of the whole Gulf, opening the Gulf, unless they get something really big out of it. And to me,
Thing is, that's why the oil price situation, the whole Strait of Hormuz, only been closed for 2 weeks. There's not enough desperation either is in Israel or the United States for nuke to be on the table just yet. I think at least another month before we reach that point. But a month of Israel getting hit like the way it's been getting hit, and things not improving on the ground, and I get it. People like Asmongold were like, why haven't we won this? So why do our servicemen keep dying? Why haven't they run out of missiles? Why isn't Iran collapsed? And eventually he will watch a video from someone who actually knows what's going on and get educated. And the pressure on Trump will be immense at that point. Again, the instant Trump bombed Iran and started this war, he had, I think, ended his political career, unfortunately. That I don't see any way to salvage it. Because he can't, with his ego, he just can't surrender to Iran, which is what is required for Iran to agree to end the war.
they seem locked in to say, no, you started this war, and it's going to end on our terms, not yours. And it's going to end on something we like, and you can either suck it up or keep suffering consequences. And
Exactly.
I think that will get us to the end of April. And then I think the closer we get to the end of April, the greater that danger is going to rise.
I think that's a reasonable time.
Well, there's a lot of steps on the escalation ladder before a tactical nuclear weapon, which I think could destroy Iran's infrastructure, which would be appalling if that happens. Starting to strike their water infrastructure, their oil infrastructure.
Yeah.
But no, they can't. Because, like I said, if we strike their oil infrastructure, they'll immediately fire all their rockets and destroy all the oil infrastructure in the Gulf. And at that point, the whole Strait of Hormuz stop mattering. I mean, if there's no oil infrastructure, it doesn't matter if tankers can get through or not. So, Trump can't do that on the escalation ladder. It's he tried. He'd already bombed one of their oil infrastructure, and they turned around and damaged oil infrastructure throughout the Gulf. And he knows they'll do that again
Their
a lot
roads,
of
their
things
bridges,
do all
etc. To force the regime to fold, but the regime seems adamant on wanting to end this on their terms, which is not good for anyone in the region. Colonel, absolute pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mario. Look forward to seeing you next time.
That was a good video. And this I wanted to have a look at. Yeah, Iran's oil gambit. Yeah, payments. Iran demands one payments for Hormuz tankers. That's the idea they floated. Let's see. I don't know. Oh,
Cross Cuba.
we can look at that in a second. I did want to show one thing from Asmongold. Where'd my mouse go? Here it is. I noticed this in his latest video on Iran. Oh yeah, you got.
This is a viewer right here, and his name is Ace AT, and he is living in Iran.
He is getting. I've watched the other video of this guy, and he talks about the bad situation in Iran. But he, like, Asmongold doesn't know that U.S. Secretary of Treasury is directly attacking Iranian's currency and is causing the inflation in Iran. It's not just mismanagement on the part of Iran. It's also an outside attack. But what was really interesting is, show transcript. Desal. Yeah.
Another major
That's
fact.
the reason why attacking desalination plants is such a big deal. That's why nobody's done it yet. I hope that
You hear that? You hear that right there? No one's attacked desalination plants yet. Although we've bombed one desalination plant in Iran, and Iran has turned around and bombed one desalination plant in Ukraine. That's actually happened. Listen to what he says.
In a quiet way. Another major
that's
fact.
the reason why attacking desalination plants is such a big deal. That's why nobody's done it yet. I hope
Nobody's done it yet. That's the level of completely uninformed that Asmongold is on the Iran situation. He doesn't know about the situation with U.S. air defenses. He doesn't know about the situation with U.S. radars being destroyed. He doesn't know. He doesn't know about U.S. setting up the protests. He doesn't understand the implications of Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, he's just uninformed. Oh yeah, and he thinks Iran is responsible for all terrorism. He's insane. Not insane, but he's just uninformed. I just need to add that last rant in. And I think that actually will do it for the YouTube segment of this video, since that's pretty short and sweet. I'll keep on watching stuff about Iran. But like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And see you in the next video. Bye.